Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Red Valkyrie Presents. I'm, of course, Shae the Red. Feeling a little void of color today. A little bit. We'll see why in a moment, I'm sure. And I'm, of course, here with my amazing co-host, Cyborg Valkyrie. How are you?
Chromatically impaired.
Okay. Interesting. And, holy hell, you guys have no idea how excited I am. We have Aisha.
Hello.
I can say it. Okay. I'm like, shit, did I just forget how to say her name? I am so excited because we wanted to get you on for your first book, and unfortunately the timing just totally would not work out for us. I blame, what is it, a five to 5.5 hour time difference or something like that? Yeah. That doesn't help us at all trying to get together. But... oh my gosh, we have you on for book 2 and I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's going to be great. Okay, so before we get into the campaign and my 5,000 questions, yes, exactly, Sai. You're going to do the drum roll for us.
Keep in mind, this channel is filled with tacky video clips. So I'm putting that out there. I like how
you don't say that to any of our other guests.
She's classy.
It's because she's British. Stop it.
Shae the Red
has now become
awesome.
You had to fucking start your camera.
Oh God!
I forgot.
To be fair, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
I can tell that you spent ages on that.
I worked a good look. I contoured for you to try and be a little more dudeish.
I can see that. I can see that. Well, if it makes you feel any better, he was quite effeminate looking.
Thank goodness for that, because if he was more masculine, I would have been screwed. I was looking and I was like, oh, you have a very similar face shape to me. Thank you, hun. I appreciate that, so I can cosplay you now.
Yeah, he was 5'4", so he was very small.
Shae brought up a picture of him without the makeup, and he had this beautiful mouth without the mustache and stuff like that. I'm like, he could totally have been in a teen heartthrob movie.
Oh, he had the most beautiful hair. Like, I always about the fact that he had this big curly bush of hair. Oh my God, you went the whole hair. Okay. And you went for the smaller hat too. Yeah, there's a lot of effort gone in there. I can see there's a lot of effort.
You can't bring this beauty on who does research for an entire book that's all about a historical person who lived, and then be like, I'm gonna half-ass this cosplay. It's not a thing. Not a thing that you're allowed to do. People would gut me, and I was like, she's got the Charlie Chaplin Society, like, historical society behind her. Imagine she comes on a show and I do a shitty Chaplin cosplay. That would be embarrassing.
Well, do you know, we were talking before, like, about what he looked like in real life. Well, what I can never get my head round is he actually writes in his autobiography that women wanted to date the tramp, and when they woke up the next morning with him, they were disappointed. And I'm like, what kind of crazy society? I mean, don't get me wrong, I know it was the 1920s. I know there was the Depression and the Wall Street crash and no one had any money. But, like, who wants to wake up with a tramp? Like, you want to me, like, him and the tramp is like kissing a frog and finding a prince. Like, it's not...
Right!
And it was like women they fell in love with this character and wanted to mother him, and I'm like, this is so strange.
It's bizarre. And I didn't realize, because when you see him in black and white, and it's so funny because I turned my camera to turn the saturation down to kind of mimic it, right? And it really does, like, his eyes, I always thought were brown and dark until I saw a picture of him in color, and I was like, his eyes are beautiful and blue!
They're really good.
Oh my gosh, they're so light. And then you look at him in all of these movies and you're like, his eyes look like they are jet black. And it's simply because when they were doing black and white back then, it's either a dark color or a light color. And because of the eye makeup, the eyelashes, the shadow from the hat, it made his eyes look dark. So they showed as black.
Well, if you watch a lot of... he didn't do it very much, actually, but some silent film stars, they played around with the idea of different tones of black and white mimicked like when it was night and when it was day. So you see, like, I think Nosferatu is a great example. When it's meant to be daytime, it's slightly like a sepia tinge, and then when it's meant to be night, there's more blue. It's very cold, and you see it like that. But like, that's another thing. Like, I'm really fascinated by 1920s like German cinema, like Metropolis, and like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and all these things. Because actually, what's really sad is 1920s. Yeah, exactly. Look, and 1920s. Germany, just before the Depression, you realise how cultural they were, how forward-thinking, how liberal, and I mean real liberal. I don't mean the sort of stuff we live with today. And I know all these different things that they were doing. And then the Wall Street crash obviously brings around the rise of the Nazis, and then we get World War II. And you realise that it was actually such a beautiful country that was coming out of a war and really trying to better itself. And the films, the music, everything, and then we know what happens.
This was the picture that Sai and I looked up, and Sai was like, he totally looks like he could just walk into Twilight and like be right among the cast. Like, well, he was a pretty boy.
Story with this picture. So that was actually taken. So he was editing the kid, and the kid, he signed up with First National, and they were desperate to get him. So they basically gave him ridiculous amounts of money and said, make this film. And he promised that he was going to have this film done in 6 months. It took him 18 months. And because they knew it was going to be the biggest film in the world, they actually allowed him to go like that much over. And it was absolutely insane. But that is him emerging from his editing suite 3 days later. He basically told his PA and his staff, just leave me a sandwich and a glass of milk outside the room at this time, and this time. And they would leave it there and just go. And he stayed in there for 3 days. So that's how he emerged after 3 days. And he got, I think he got Edna Purviance, who was his leading lady at the time. I think he got her to take that picture, because it was literally like, I want people to see how much has gone into this. And he made, I mean, this is how I explain it to the school kids when we talk about like films and stuff at school. He made 18,000 feet of film for that film. And then he edited it and did all the own editing himself. And when I tried to picture what it looks like, do you know the building, the Shard in London? Like, it's the funny spiky one. That looks like a weird iceberg sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he, so that's 1,000 feet high. So he filmed 18 of them stacked on top of each other for the kid.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Welcome, Stdio. How are you, love? I love this. You got, like, people in the chat are just blowing up, loving what you do. Just like Past Master Den said that he thinks this should be recommended reading for schools. And I really wish this is what got me, because I remember your first campaign launched, and I was like, Charlie Chaplin, and I was just kind of like, I'm not really down for it. Like, I don't really know.
Fans of Chaplin, and totally started digging at
and that was the thing, is like, I listened to you once or twice talk just briefly about Chaplin, and I was like, that actually might be kind of interesting. And then I started doing Google searches and stuff and was like, oh my gosh, like, first off, I'm a sucker for a good quote. Like, I'm 1,000% a sucker for a good quote. And holy hell, if this man did not have a lifetime of just phenomenal quotes.
Oh, yeah.
It was just amazing, the stuff that he said, and like how poignant so much of it was. And so much of it, it goes right back into that thing where you talk about all of these comedians are usually the ones that you need to look out for the most, because they're usually the most depressed. They're the ones that are feeling the weight of the world the most. And then you'd see his quotes, and his quotes were like, why is humanity doing this? And you're like, I just want to hug you, you poor soul. Like, oh, my heart. Love all of the stuff that I started to learn about it. And that's when I was like, I have to back this. And I think I backed it like right before you closed. I was like, oh shit, it's still open. Like, come on, let me get it, please. And so you had this come up, and it was like, I think it was the day that you launched that I noticed that it was up, and was like, that's it. I have to back this. and I hadn't even read, I still haven't because I've got my backlog. I haven't even read the books, but I've thumbed through and I've seen the pages and I've heard you talk about it and I've done my own research. I'm like, man, I'm going to have a day where I'm going to go like full on kind of British with this. Like, I'm going to have some biscuits and a cup of tea and I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to lose myself in these pages because he's such an interesting character.
Yeah.
Don't forget the beans and toast.
Oh!
Why does that freak Americans out? Can someone...
It's the best thing in the world, I'm telling you people right now. If you've not had British beans and toast, they are not like our baked beans. They are not barbecue, hickory, bullshit. It is in tomato sauce, and they are amazing.
And I just point out, this is really funny, and I'll tell you why. There's an ongoing joke with YANN and I. I'm very pale for a half Turkish girl. I make no secret about it. And I joke with people that if I sleep longer for 12 hours, YANN will check my pulse. I'm that white.
I feel you, sweetie.
Yeah, I trust Antoine. That is not an insult. Trust me at all. You're fine.
So this is what's really funny. I've got this makeup, which is the lightest that they have for fair, and I still have to blend the fuck out of it in order for it to not leave an obvious crease because of how wide I am. And whenever I do contouring, I'm doing the stuff that all my girlfriends are doing for their highlight. I'm like, oh, that's my shadow. Like, I can't, if I go darker than that, it's very obvious that I have like...
Oh my God.
He's very right with this. Very right.
Woolly.
It's got to be really good, strong cheddar, like the really mature stuff.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it is really funny because
it's so good.
Like for example, we obviously have fish and chips, but you guys think you know fish chips to you is crisps.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Us are like they're not even French fries. They're like really chunky fries.
They're steak fries. They're what we call steak fries is what y'all call chips. And I'm telling you right now, you have not lived until you have had salted vinegar and the salt and vinegar on your chips. And it's not vinegar like white vinegar. It's fucking malt vinegar and it's glorious. And I'm telling y'all, there are things that I get that people don't like in Britain. I've been to pubs in London. I gotta say, London was the most disappointing place that I went in my entire time in England.
Food.
The food was abysmal when I was in London. I was like, I have a pub on the corner, and they know how to do like a really good, spread and everything. And I was like, what I got here? I got bangers and mash. How do you mess up bangers and mash? I don't know how you mess that up. Oh, they did. And Yorkshire pudding. Their Yorkshire pudding was rubbery. I was like, you invented Yorkshire pudding. Like it's named after Yorkshire. Like how did you fuck it up?
See,
and then I
go to Yorkshire next time.
I go to Lincolnshire and I'm like, can I get a Yorkshire pudding and bangers and mash? And they're like, here you go. And I was like, this is the most amazing thing on the face of the planet. This is the most delicious food I've ever had.
Well, I was watching Gordon Ramsay's like MasterChef thing, right? But I like the American one because Gordon Ramsay's on it. I don't like the English one. The English guys are boring. But there was a guy who they had to make something that they all connected to Gordon Ramsay. So they all made English food, obviously. But what was so funny to see, like, American take on English food from Americans that have, like, visited once. And when I mean once, I don't mean being there for a couple of years. I mean, like, literally stopping.
I went there for a week.
Before you go on to France, like that. And this guy had made a shepherd's pie. Quite standard, traditional shepherd's pie is pretty easy to make, but then he put a garnish of coleslaw, so a garnish of slaw, and I'm like, YANN and I looked at each other and went, "Who the fuck has coleslaw with a shepherd's pie?" Right? It was like what it would literally be like you guys having a hot dog and like putting lettuce and tomatoes on top of it.
Yeah, that's not.
I laugh because in my house we eat shepherd's pie about once every 2 weeks. So putting coleslaw
of what you should have, and it's not coleslaw.
That is not it. That's not where it's at. Look at past Mr. Jan. What kind of food did Chaplin eat? Trying to stay on topic.
There's a funny story about him with food. Like literally anyone that watches my streams, Tommy Mark will tell you this. I can somehow get Chaplin into every conversation legitimately. Not tangible links. It is actually, I know Stdio doesn't like slaw. In fact, I don't either. I listened to Stdio as I was watching this going, what have I just watched? So he was at times he would be very temperamental. He was an artist, and he was arguing with his brother why he had to meet these big executives to go over his budget and his finance of his films because he was quite happy to handle everything. And his brother said to him, like, we have to go, because his brother was his manager. So they went to this really ostentatious restaurant in Beverly Hills, and he was being a real foul mood. But he knew, because they knew he was Charlie Chaplin, they would make him anything he wanted. So he turned around and he said, I want Welsh rarebit. And they said, what? He went, Welsh rarebit. Of course, there was no Google back in these days, right? And then they're running around trying to find what the hell this is. One of them thought it meant cooking like a Welsh rabbit. And they were like, where are we going to get a rabbit from? And then his brother got so embarrassed by it, he went up to the chef and he went, it's literally cheese on toast. It's the posh phrase for cheese on toast. He's just fucking with you because he knows that you're making anything you want. So there's all these big executives who are sitting there eating steak and oysters and all these sort of things, and he's there tucking into with a knife and fork his cheese on toast. And
that's fucking hilarious.
And he didn't care how stupid it looked, because he literally was like, okay, you're going to bring me to this restaurant. We're in the middle of a depression. You're all eating steak that you really shouldn't be having. You got it off the black market. I'm going to eat cheese on toast. And it was to actually make them all feel stupid, because they were all there talking about figures and money when there were people outside the place actually lining up at soup kitchens and starving. So this is the sort of thing that I love him for, because he really kept that working class London head on his shoulders, and that was something that massively attracted me to writing about him.
Right. No, I can totally understand that. So there's so many cool little bits that you have in your covers for this campaign. And Cy and I were looking at this one, and I was like, I have a question, and I have a very pulled out of my ass explanation for part of this one, but I want to ask you outright. So this little guy down in the corner right here, mm-hmm. the black sheep, mm-hmm. is that a reference to Charlie Chaplin being a black sheep kind of within Hollywood, or is it something else?
No, it's two things. So that is one of
them.
Okay. And I want to say that this had nothing to do with me. I've got a very unwritten rule with anyone that works on my campaigns, and any of them will tell you, when they say to me, what do you want? I tell them, this is the time frame of what this book is about. Mm-hmm. Go nuts, give me some ideas, come back to me, right? That was mm-hmm. the conversation I had with all of them. And this is Mickey's cover. Mickey had, like you, no interest in Chaplin before he signed up to the project. I know Mickey through Carl Stefan from Mary Boys. And when I was when I was looking for an artist, they used to work together, and he said, I know the guy that will pull this off if he's free. So, and yeah, boy, did he pull it off in the first book. But I said he really wanted to do a cover for book 2. So I said to him, like, the only thing that we're staying a bit away from is The Great Dictator. And the only reason that we're staying away from The Great Dictator is two reasons. One, the obvious anti-CG SJW ilk will go on about it being a far-right secret message because it's meant to be Hitler. They won't even care about the subject matter. And they will mass flag it to Indiegogo. We know how their minds work. And while that's down, and I can't, and I've got to bring all the Chaplins into them, writing to them and saying it's fine, and just a waste of time, it's easy just not to have one.
Yeah. God forbid anyone recognize satire.
And you know what? It wouldn't stay down for very long. They would obviously have wrote to them. Indiegogo would have been cool. It would have been fine. But it was the fact of, I didn't want to go down that road, and I didn't want to waste time. Because when they put your campaign back up, they don't start the timer again. They just put it back up from the day that they put it back up.
Yeah.
As far as I know. So I was like, I'm not going down that road. So so we decided to leave that one out. And then so I said to Mickey, any other film apart from that is fine. And so he came back with Modern Times. And in Modern Times, there is a section with sheep, and there's one random black sheep, and then it turns into a load of people walking in a line to punch their cards to go into a factory.
Oh, nice.
So Chaplin was referring to the process of being a sheep in the modern cogs of society, and how it's soulless now when everyone's just marching into factories. With I think as well the fact that he feels like the black sheep in Hollywood. Now, he didn't do himself any favours with the opening sequence of this film, because there's a bit where he's walking out and someone drops a red flag on the floor, and he picks up the red flag and goes, "You've forgotten your flag," and starts walking down the street with this flag, to which then a communist, not a riot, what do you call it, march, starts marching behind him, thinking that he's supporting the Workers' Party, and he's trying to explain to them that no, he's not. He just wanted to give the guy back his flag. Well, that's the worst thing to do when people are accusing you of being a communist, is to wave a red flag on a film. Yeah, that's really super smart. But
yeah.
I think he just did it because he knew what they were saying about him, and he refused to back down, because he was like, I'm not doing anything wrong. So if you want to have these assumptions of me, that's totally up to you. So the black sheep is for that. Now,
That's funny.
This is where I say that I love how the artists interpret these things, because I never gave Mickey any massive instructions apart from obviously what I just said about the films. He went and watched Modern Times. This is what he took from it.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was him doing the research and going, I know what I'm using. And that's someone that didn't have an interest in Chaplin. So it just goes to show what is the power of actually his story when people know it.
Well, so here's the funny thing, right? And I'm gonna pull this down for just a second, because you're talking about, and this is what's really cool with how you're doing this, is you're talking about inspiring people to learn more about Chaplin, and as a result, and I shared this with you a while back, but this is something that I ended up doing, when. After hearing that you had your second book up. And it was because I had read so much about the reason that Charlie Chaplin chose the movies he did, and the subject matters and all that, and like he's always putting this comedic spin on it, because that's what makes it accessible to people, right? And so I'll sit here and I'll make a commentary and I'll do comedy about it, but in reality it was because the topic was so important to him that he was like, if I have to poke fun at the things that we all think but nobody feels that they can say, in order to raise the awareness about what's going on and to be able to voice my opinion on it and be able to really kind of show that support, that's what I'm going to do. If I have to use comedy to get through, that's what I'll do. And that was one of the most empowering things when I was kind of reading about him, was the fact that that's the stance he took. And he said things, just like you were talking about the dinner, he said and did things that there is no way that should help push forward his career in any light. If anything, that should have hampered it immensely. But because he literally didn't care, and people, and it's probably the same reason why he was like, you guys all want to say that I'm sitting here as a communist. I will show you how easy it is to have somebody misrepresent you as such. A guy dropped a flag and I'm being a good Samaritan to bring it back, and now you all think I'm a communist. And it's a really similar thing to, I don't know if you ever heard about if you ever watched the Ricardos, where you had Lucille Ball. And so her whole story, there was a huge, and I didn't even know about this, I was a huge Lucille Ball fan, and I had no idea, but there was a whole string of accusations because she had checked communist on a voter's ballot at one point, and when they actually discuss it and broach it, because it turns into this huge thing where everybody's like, cancel Lucille Ball, communist, that's horrible, and she comes back and she was like, the only person I had in my life was my uncle. My uncle was a staunch member of the Communist Party. I checked a box like 18 years ago. She's like, I never like went to rallies or anything. And she's like, it was a way for me to respect the person who was like a father figure in my life. Now, whether you agree with her or not is beside the point. Everybody was trying to make her out like she was funding the Communist Party and doing all of this crazy stuff. And she was like, it's like he's like my dad. That's why I was, and then people are like, we'll just say that you checked it accidentally. And she goes, but I didn't. She's like, I checked it intentionally, but the reason I checked it and what they're saying I did isn't the same thing. And it ended up turning out okay for her, because that she refused to back down. She wasn't going to say that it was an accident, and she was like, if it cancels me, it cancels me, but this is why I did it, and this is what I feel. And do I agree with all of this stuff? Of course I don't. That's horrible. Why would you do that to somebody? And I feel like Chaplin was probably very much the same way, where he was like, I'm not a communist. You could say I'm a communist, but I'm not.
He went on record many times, many times.
Yeah.
The problem with them, and he is to blame for a certain extent. Like, there's no way you can say that he was innocent.
Oh, right.
And the reason I say that is because I'm a Londoner. I'm a South Londoner. I grew up exactly where he was from. Before he had elocution lessons, he sounded exactly like me. He grew up in Kennington. I grew up in Kennington. Like, honest to God. And I know if someone keeps trying to tell me to do something, I ain't bloody doing it. And it's that simple. And with him, what did you say? You went, oh, yeah. Just a minute ago, I was like, I know, I'm not doing it. I heard him go, no, you ain't.
It's funny.
But the thing is that it was actually simpler than any political agenda with him as well, which is insane. It was because he basically was too proud and also too egotistical to not actually admit the real reason why he wasn't an American citizen. It had nothing to do with the Communist Party. It had nothing to do with hating McCarthy and hating the American way of life and wanting to make all his money in America and then bugger off later on. It was because if he gave up his British passport, he couldn't be knighted. And he wanted to be knighted, and that was all it was. But he wouldn't admit that to anyone because he didn't want it to look like he was asking for it. He wanted his peers to give it to him so that he was just as good as they were. Because when he was a child, he actually got a part as a Billy the Bellboy in a very big production of Sherlock Holmes on the stage in London, and it wasn't vaudeville, it wasn't slapstick, it wasn't the English musicals, it was proper theatre. He wanted to be a proper actor. But because of the way he spoke, and he was a bit core blimey governor, they said, you're not from the right background. And then he ended up having to do what his parents did, even though he knew that the music hall destroyed his own parents. So he wanted to be recognised by these aristocratic people. And that was as simple as it was. And rather than just admitting it, the weird thing is, they pinned the wrong flag on him. Because if anything, he wanted to be like the upper echelon society of Britain. Well, that's not a bloody communist. That's the complete opposite to a communist.
That's a monarchist.
You know how he finally got his knighthood in 1975, and we were real pussies with this because we only gave him his knighthood and backed down when you lot gave him his honorary Oscar. So we let you lead us with one of our own citizens who was one of the most famous people in the world. And I was like, I know, when I read those dates, I went, we are an absolute bunch of arseholes to that. absolute bunch of arseholes. And I remember seeing that. And you know who got him his knighthood? This is insane. So first, Parliament was first petitioned for his knighthood in 1920. He was turned down because of a whole big scandal in the First World War where apparently he was refusing to fight, which was a load of rubbish. And then I think it was 1934 again, and then because he'd been through a sex scandal with his second marriage and all these things, they were like, no, we can't give it to him. He's a little bit too problematic. Then it was like the Cold War really kicked off in the 50s, and they went, we're not quite sure this is a good idea. In fact, there was talk that when he came over to Britain in 52, which is when the first book's set, that he was going to be knighted then, and then they backed out of that because America kicked him out for apparently being a communist. And in the end, he ended up getting his knighthood in 1975, and it was because our Queen, her son, Prince Charles, who was really good friends with Lord Mountbatten, who was really good friends with Chaplin, said, it's about time now, you just look. The Americans have forgiven him. There's no reason we can't make him a sir. And he was a sir for 18 months before he died. But first they petitioned to have him made as a knight 55 years before.
Oh my gosh.
His life is so sad in so many ways. It's unbelievable.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Well, I'm glad he finally got to see it.
Yeah, right? Like, exactly. Very happy.
Yeah.
By the way, I understand why he played with his hat so much. This is so much fun.
He wore one that was, I think the hat was 2 sizes too small, the jacket was 2 sizes too small, the trousers were 3 sizes too big, and the shoes were like 3 sizes too big or something like that. It was all, I think if I remember rightly, they were Fatty Arbuckle's trousers.
Nice.
That seems about right.
So
Yeah.
That seems about
Arbuckle was a big guy, and Chaplin was a very small one. If there's actually what film is it? I think it's Tingo Tango or something like that. There's actually a film where they're in together where he's not the tramp, he's actually dressed as himself, and they're stood next to each other at one point, and you actually see the size difference in them. So the fact that he wore his Antoine Dennison said, is there any truth in the rumor that Chaplin and Hitler were switched at birth? Not, definitely not. They were actually born 4 days apart, but no, not that I am.
No.
Pretty sure, not that I'm aware of. No, that would be a story for another day, though, wouldn't it? If that got found out.
Good heavens.
So the real Charlie Chaplin was like a bloodthirsty maniac, and then the real Adolf Hitler was a silent film. That'd be crazy, but hopefully
That would be weird.
Come across that in the archives. Yeah.
Well, so you have a lot of really awesome, like we were talking about the covers, and I love that apparently you and I have the same kind of approach, because I'm, stuff that I write, I love to see how other people process it, and I love to see where other people's minds go, because I'm like, I could come up with a pinup or whatever, and it could be cool maybe, but at the same time, like, I would so much rather have somebody else just go hog wild and make a cover that they really want to make. And like, this is one of the coolest ones, I think, from Graham Nolan, because I really love that you're seeing like the glitz and the glamour of Hollywood, and you're seeing like the devastation of what's actually going on in the world. And it's, he's sat here just kind of sad panda stuck in the middle of it, because what is he going to do? Is he going to, abandon Hollywood to what? To sit around and have just be upset and miserable with everybody else? Or, hey,
Blitz.
maybe...
Yeah,
right.
It is exactly. But what's funny about this cover is that like people have said, and it's so ridiculous the way people are, how did she get a Graham Nolan cover? I asked him. It's kind of that simple. Graham, will you do me a cover? When do you need it? In about 6 months' time. Yeah, cool. Let's talk about it close to the date. That was the conversation, pretty much verbatim.
Yeah.
And so there's no big like secret conspiracy on how I've got these incredible people on both campaigns to work on these books. I just asked them. And again, Graham, he and I had a hangout. We had he actually came to me with this idea. I said, like, it sounds really cool. Let's run with it. And then originally, because on the first campaign, Donald DeLay's cover was offered in black and white on the first 24 hours. Originally, because Graham wanted to do this in black and white, I said, okay, for the first 24 hours, then I'm going to flip it what I did to the first one. I'm going to offer a coloured version. Now, then all of a sudden, Gabe and I start talking, and Gabe is really keen to colour it, Gabe El Taib. And I was like, okay, cool. So when it went out 2 or 3 days before the launch, and I said, this is the cover. And I'm like, if you ask anyone that's worked with me, they jokingly say I'm the worst boss ever. Not because I'm a whip cracker and I'm really mean. I am the worst boss because I go, oh, if that's okay with you, Leah, that's kind of...
Yeah.
I don't have any authority with, like, I'm so in awe of all these people that work with me. And because I couldn't draw like that, I'm not going to say, yeah, change this bit. Because I'll be like, in my head, I'll be like, who am I to say that to someone, Right. But, like they were colouring this, and they were going backwards and forth, and they were like looking at it. And when I launched it, because I actually asked them both, do you mind if I put it out before the campaign? And they both went, it's your cover. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I don't feel right putting it out for you anyway. And then when I put it out there, people were DMing me. I mean, like, I had about 25 DMs going, please don't offer this for just the first 24 hours. I want to buy it. I don't get paid for another week. So originally I was like, okay, I'll put it up for a week. Then I started getting DMs again going, please don't do this. I don't get paid till the end of the month, and I desperately want the coloured version. I was like, okay. So what I decided to do for the first week, I offered them as a bundle with reduced shipping. And that was the sort of the first week campaign. That's not on there anymore. But it did massively well. I mean, it sold loads and loads because people couldn't decide whether they wanted the black and white or the colour.
Right.
And because both these amazing people brought something totally different to this cover. And I love the fact of, like, you know, Graham Nolan and Gay were in a DM chatting about my cover and what to do with it. You know, without me there, they were just talking. I love that because I just can't believe these two powerhouses, you know, of, you know, Marvel and DC, predominantly DC, were like looking at this and going, yeah, what about we do it with this and what about we do it with that? And I was like, wow, that's pretty incredible.
That is awesome. And they both knocked it out of the park. Like, I agree with that. It's really hard to choose between the black and white and colored version. That's what you think. You see, look,
Look, there you go. And specifically, it's the clouds on I guess the London side. Those are just gorgeous in black and white.
Yeah, I mean, Graham's vision is always going to be, you know, being up there because it is like the original and it's Graham Nolan, God's sake. And I was saying, I don't think, I mean, if anyone can, like, again, anyone can prove me wrong or, you know, maybe whatever, I could just ask him, I suppose, that'd say things, but I don't think he's done a cover on another campaign that isn't his. I can't remember anybody
I don't know. We just had him on one of our shows, but that was discussing writing, and I'm trying to think.
I don't think so. I've only seen, I know obviously for sure he's got his own covers. The only ones I could think of that he might have done might have been maybe one of the Professionals. But I don't think so.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. I mean, I've said it on like 3 or 4 streams now.
Hi,
I
Mark.
should just ask him rather than just going, oh, I wonder. I could just go, hey, Graham. Have you worked on it?
Yeah.
Right?
Right?
That's the most sensible thing to do. But, oh, look, him spamming the chat. But there's there's a real communist, you know. But,
yeah, he sent me a North Korean flag. Do you know how fun that is to have in your house? Be like, I can't.
When you're active duty
military
and you have a security clearance and you now own a North Korean flag.
Thank you again for that.
Did he send you the North Korean currency as well?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I got all that as well. And I'm like, what? I actually sent him a message going with a picture of it going, what is this shit? LOL. Because obviously, but we actually, Mark and I are very, very good friends. Like we talk all the time, and I always find it really funny. Maybe us South Londoners get mistaken for being communist quite a lot because one of my closest friends in CG is a communist. So maybe there is something in this. I have no idea. But it's interesting what you said about Lucille Ball, because I did know stuff about that. And I think at one point they even went after Alfred Hitchcock was another one they went after. There was loads of people. I can't remember what they called it, but I think so if you ever watch like the movies that they have out, Being the Ricardos is the one that I watched where they kind of covered it. And one of the things that they had like called it a specific thing, but it was like
HUAC. The house on it.
Yeah.
Right, but what I'm saying is they called the event a thing. I can't remember what they called it, but they basically referred to it as like they're cleaning house in Hollywood. And it was when that party had gotten really like a bee in their bonnet about we're gonna suss out every last communist in Hollywood, and they were going after and accusing everybody. If you ever even like seemed slightly off, your name would get thrown into the ring, and then the people who stuck were ones that had some kind of a background to it. Like you have Chaplin, who's constantly shaking things up and making people uncomfortable, and that's what the communists do, so clearly he's a communist, right? And then you have Lucille Ball, who literally checked communist on a ballot, so obviously she's an active supporter, communist, whatever. And those were the ones that stuck around the most, but they accused like swaths of people until people were like, where's your proof? And then it would go, well, I guess I don't have any. And then it would like go away for a lot of them. Well, but those ones it didn't, because they pissed off the wrong people.
They actually had a 43,000 page document on 4,300, sorry, page document on Chaplin, a massive dossier on him. I know because I've seen. I haven't obviously read it all because I genuinely don't have the time. But
Fair.
I have seen it's all uploaded with the Chaplin archives. If I want to go through bits, they had, and that was a larger file than they had on Adolf Hitler. That was
Nice.
how insane it all was. They were so desperate to get him. It was mad.
And if you look at the parallels to what's going on currently in society worldwide, you're like, man, people honestly think if you just continue to say a lie enough times that it then becomes the truth. And it's like there's nothing to substantiate all of these things that are continually being said and spewed out about a variety of people. But because it's been said over and over and over and over again, it must be true, because why would it keep getting repeated? And you're like, because misinformation breeds misinformation. And when people refuse to do their own research or think for themselves or want, you know, a nanny state to basically come in and tell them what to do, how to live, where to go, how to breathe, then that's what you get, because you have a pipeline of information and everything else must be wrong. And it's crazy.
There's a great example with him is that, so his second marriage was really scandalous, but then he married Paulette Goddard, who, like, there was all this thing about him with young women, but Paulette Goddard was not, like, she was in her 20s when they got married. It wasn't, she was still younger than him, but she was a beauty and she was an actress, so it was very common.
Right.
But then when they split up, and they split up really amicably. There was no scandal. In fact, she ended up moving to Switzerland and getting remarried. And then he ends up moving to Switzerland with Una. And there were times when the four of them would go to dinner together. That's how least scandalous it really was. And there's a whole thing about when he split up with her just before he'd met Una. There was a woman called Joan Barry, and she was originally going to be in one of his films, and because she was incredibly erratic, she was obviously had mental health problems, he couldn't cast her. But she went around telling everybody that they were sleeping together, and he said, I never did have a relationship with this woman. Then she gets pregnant, has a baby, and J. Edgar Hoover jumped on it and went, this is a chance to get him now, because he was denying paternity. And it went to court and everything. He gave DNA and like blood samples, which was a new thing in California. Then the judge ruled it out, saying he couldn't guarantee it was actually accurate, even though it's the same test they do now. He was found he must have been the father of this baby. And till the child was 18, he carried on paying for this child, and he never contested it, even though he knew he wasn't the father, because she ended up in a mental asylum. She was clearly not all there, bless her. And because he'd grown up with a mother who was in and out of a mental asylum, he almost acted like this child's like surrogate father, like I'm trying to think what's the old-fashioned Victoria, a ward. He acted like this child. He never saw the kid, but he just carried on paying for it because he was like, well, if this is going to stop one child ended up on the streets. And Una would say, but the child's not yours. He's going, I know, just, but, you know. And he made his children, when he made his will, promise that they never tried to go after the money. Like they just left it. And it was all because Hoover and McCarthy wanted to get him, because if you actually look at Chaplin, every woman he ever got pregnant, he married them. So why would he deny that one? Like, would you just married her and that would have been the end of it? So
right.
This whole, there's so much about, and believe me, the two things I get asked the most are, you know, was he into young girls and was he a communist? And I can say no and no to both quite comfortably, because I've seen the evidence to know that he wasn't. So that's,
right.
You know, that's kind of it. And I do get a lot of people that, I'd love to back your book. I've had this, believe me, it's still a thing. I've had this. I'd love to back your book, but I really can't. I can't put my money to anything that promotes communist sympathies. And I'm like, but this isn't going to the Communist Party. I've not got any communist sympathies. I mean, I pretty much have voted Conservative all my life. Like I've never voted left like that. So I and it's not people in CG. It's people like, because, you know, people in CG know me more, but because I'm on Instagram with the Charlie's London, because I'm on Facebook and so on, people will will message me on those platforms. And they,
Damn it, Wooly.
Was he
into young communists? Oh, so you didn't put them together. Now it's a whole different can of no, he wasn't.
Wooly, I know it's the single malt whiskey, and I know it's 20 to 10 to 11 at night here. So I think you need to calm down. Go back to the water for a bit. I think there might be something going on. My comments are when I see how much. Yeah, well, look, don't get me started about him. This is a dude who doesn't wash his jeans. I'm not going there. He reckons you never wash jeans. Like, this is an ongoing.
Mark, wash your jeans.
This is an ongoing thing with him and I. I don't tolerate it, and I've told him that when we all meet up, when we can have a CG UK meet up, I think it's in September we're all doing it. I've told him, if you don't wash your jeans, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Put your jeans in the wash, or else you get the hose again.
Yep.
There you go, Mark. Take that one.
Precisely. All right, so you have phenomenal tiers and really cool things that you haven't done before. Like, obviously you've got your awesome boxes coming back, but then you also have these really cool figures. So let's go and talk perks, so people know how they can back you. Because look, you got 26 days left, guys. We actually got Charlie on not at the very end of her campaign, and we actually got her on while the campaign is still live, which means that you could help unlock a ton of these awesome stretch goals. And look, I'm just going to scroll down
to the
real quick. We better get the damn bookmark.
No, the bookmark's been unlocked. Right, so there is a bit of a story with this. The bookmark has been unlocked, and I did say that I'm honouring this, but the exchange rate the next day sent it $200 under. But I did put a tweet out saying that because obviously this runs in the UK, and I know that predominantly my customers are American, both silent film and CG, that when it goes up to this, I will honour it. So it's not a thing. So I felt really sorry because somebody backed it and they messaged me and went, "I'm really glad I've taken you over the 20k," and then within like 10 minutes, because it's 11 here, it clocks over, and it was like 10 to 11. They sent me the message. I went, "It's all right, don't worry, you still have."
Like, you still did. It's the economy. Yeah. It's not you. Yeah, I by the way, I've seen a lot of 6 a.m. stickers, obviously, because he does everybody's. This is the cutest one to date. This is my favorite because look how adorable and happy you look.
I know. You know what? What is it with these big cheesy grins and with my mouth open? Like, the sad thing, people always see me like because I'm always talking. But he does. This is absolutely incredible. He did this, and he did. So I'm basically meant to be. It's me, but it's me as Paulette Goddard in modern times, and that's how we did it. So everyone's
so cute,
and it's going to be exactly the same as the first campaign. So it's going to be a die cut sticker as well. So yeah, they are going to be.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Dave. How you doing? So I'll tell you what's bizarre. So the first 6 a.m. sticker. I obviously printed loads of them, and if you use Sticker Mule, sort of the more you print, the cheaper it gets. So when I looked at it, it was like buy 500, well that's not enough because I had 750 backers, or buy 1,000. I was like, I'll buy 1,000, I'll have some left over, that's not a problem. Because you always have to be careful in case packages go missing and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So then when it came to the end of the campaign and I had some boxes of books left, they were actually, and it happens on every campaign, the first like 2 or 3 in the box and the last 2 or 3, they're always slightly nicked or damaged. There's nothing wrong with them from an ordinary person, but you couldn't give them to someone that collects comics. Hello, Carl. And so I bagged and boarded them up, and all the extra stickers and postcards and bits and pieces, I took them into school and I gave them to a group of children that I specifically look after, and I gave some to the library as well. And what was really mad is like a lot of them bring like iPads and laptops into school to do extra work on. And one particular day I looked up from my desk and a lot of them were doing some reading on their iPads or books. And I saw that they stuck their stickers to the back of the laptops and iPad cases. So I was just looking at like a sea of all these 6 a.m. stickers that had my face on. And I was like, this is really bizarre, but really cool. And I was like, why have you all done that? And they went, oh, we all thought it was a really nice thing to do because they all knew that it was my book. And it was just so nice. And the amount of them that they're 11 years of age, they have absolutely no interest in this probably. Thank you, by the way, Dave. And that is very true, Chubb, 100%. They actually, you know, they said, well, we we really enjoyed it, and the bit that they sort of really resonated with, and it's mad because you think no one should live like this in this day and age, is I've had kids come up to me and go, before I went into foster care, because we've got kids in foster care in every school, this was what it was like living with my mum, the way Chaplin lived with her mum, where she wouldn't get out of bed for days and she wasn't well and it wasn't her fault. And it was like, oh God, like, you know, there's part of you goes, oh my God, I didn't want to bring back any horrible memories for you. But then it's also these kids are going, I can relate to this person because they went on to be something amazing. And that means anyone can be what they want to be and I can be what I want to be. And
exactly.
And that's, if I don't get anything else out of this, if nothing else comes out, I've done that. And that's important.
That's brilliant. That is phenomenal. So I love that you have stickers again. And I love that it's this sticker because it's adorable. The bookmark, it's beautiful. That the whole gradient in the sky and the, you know, London skyline and all that, it's so pretty. So pretty. So I'm stoked for that. We got to get you the cover, at least 30K unlocked for sure, because that's, now that I know more of the story behind the cover too, it just makes it that much cooler.
Well, since we're talking about cosplay, I'm just trying to see if I can find it on here. It's not me cosplaying, but I have a fantastic friend. I'm just trying to find this cover. So one of my, a really, really good friend of mine who is an incredible cosplayer, he actually comes and hangs out in my chats quite a lot now. He did a cosplay cover for the campaign.
Oh, cool.
So once, sadly, because of certain different things, we couldn't actually use it as a cosplay cover. But we're going to have it, there's a set of 5 that he did, 5 images. So for the 25K stretch goal, what we've decided to do, which I will add in there, is, you know, when in the old days when they used to have cinema cards, postcards, when you used to go, you could collect them at the cinema. We're basically going to do that with his image, the images that he's actually provided. So I'm just going to show you one. I did put this on Twitter. I'm just going to see if I can actually bring this up and if it's going to work. Hopefully it will. It's not showing anything for me though. So tell me if it's...
Right now you don't have anything being shared.
See if that's... Oh no, it's telling it... Okay, I can't do it. I might have to send it to you in the DM and you can actually...
Yep, send it to me in DM and I'll...
Weirdly, I don't know if it's started to do with your StreamYard, but my one, it actually saying that there's a preference where I can't actually send things until I go through my Mac preferences. It's really bizarre. Anyway, I've just sent it to you so you can see.
That must be a Mac thing, because we're both using Windows.
It's a Mac thing. It comes up with preferences for sharing, and then because I'm obviously here and I can't reboot the thing, I just was like, I've just given you the image anyway, so you'll be able to see it. But
oh my gosh, that is brilliant.
He did this, and it's based on an original Chaplin image where he's in a bath reading like a photoplay magazine, I think. So we came up with the idea that rather than it being that, it's going to be my book number 1 he's reading in the bath. So
that's awesome.
So he did all of these, and we originally, like I say, intended it to be a cosplay cover. We couldn't do it in the end as a cosplay cover, but we are going to keep doing it now for like mock-ups of postcards and things, which will be the 25K stretch goal, because he's done some really incredible pictures, and I really want to get them out there because I just think this is amazing. He actually, my friend Jack, he's a I think semi-professional Johnny Depp lookalike as well.
Wow.
If you go on Instagram, and you look, I think it's Deppalite. He's on my Facebook if you find. It's mad. Wow. Just some of the way that the films that he does and stuff. He does like the Mad Hatter, and he does Jack Sparrow, and he does Sweeney Todd, and he looks incredible, super amazing. So
that is so cool.
He goes, like someone else on this panel, he does go very all out with his cosplay. So,
is he Johnny Depp alike UK? On Facebook?
On Facebook? Oh, I don't know. He does follow me on Facebook, but he follows me under his real name. So if you go to Twitter, he's at Deppalite UK. So it's Deppalite and then UK. he likes loads of my stuff. So if you just looked at one of my tweets, you'll probably find him. But he is like super mad, like really, really good.
Got it.
That is awesome.
He was saying that when everything happened with the Johnny Depp trial, he actually ended up gaining like 300-400 Instagram subscribers in a matter of hours because of, you know, the whole sort of hype with it and everything. So yeah, it's pretty insane. But he's super good. So good shout out. Great.
That's awesome.
Goal as well.
I'm really happy that is a stretch goal, that those images are still going to be able to be used, because it's fantastic. It's so cool.
Yeah. I wanted to definitely get it on there because I just wanted him to sort of get the recognition for such the hard work that he put in. So yeah, 100%. But yeah,
he did wonderful. All right, so let's talk. We've been talking for an hour, girl. I could talk to you like for hours on end, but we should probably go over your perks so people can actually back this thing, because we want to increase your backers, hopefully. So let's go over those.
Just to let you know as well, Side, that is the right one that you just put in the chat.
Yep. Because I saw pictures that were common on his Twitter with the Facebook that I was trying to match it up with. So yeah.
Yeah, like if you check him out, insanely good, like really good.
I'm gonna go follow him right now while we're talking.
Go give him a follow. Honestly, like there's some of the. I went to a Comic-Con with him. I was dressed as Paulette Goddard from there. Yeah. I went dressed as Paulette Goddard from Modern Times. He went as Chaplin, and like seriously, the people were taking pictures all day. Like we, and it was mental. And that's why I said to him, and that was 3 years in the making. That was before I even started book one. I remember saying to him, "We've got to do something for the campaign."
Right.
And he said, "Yeah, of course." And of course, then COVID hit, and then he was doing other stuff. During COVID, he was doing a lot of like his Johnny Depp stuff, and then there was no real room for it on book one. And then we had the idea using book one for the for this, and it was just amazing. It was absolutely cool. So yeah,
looks so good. He's very talented. I am impressed, because I know how difficult cosplay is, and I know how much work goes into it. So he is phenomenal. Yeah. All right, so your featured perk. You want to go ahead and tell people what that is?
Well, it's the Graham Nolan black and white cover. It was the only one out of the two Graham Nolan ones that it could massively, because it was the original. It was his vision, how it started, and that is the featured perk, because actually it was the first cover that was designed as well, and it's Graham Nolan, and just it's my little thank you to someone of his incredible stature and talent that has looked at my little campaign and gone, yeah, I want to be a part of that. So that's definitely why it's the featured tier.
That's awesome. Very cool. This one I loved. I read this blurb and was like, that's adorable. And also, because I've actually talked to YANN in chat more than I've talked to you, which I find hilarious. But after reading this, I was like, that seems right. That seems about, what I would expect YANN to be like, yeah, sure, I'll just sit here and bag and board and ship and pack.
The funny thing is he actually doesn't mind. The only thing that he was saying to me was, I wish we'd devised a way earlier that we could have actually put a system in place that made this quicker, because obviously it's just me and him doing it. And I was just, he said something to me one day about how, do you think people see it as your campaign or our campaign? And I said, I think people see it as our campaign. And he said, oh, I was just curious. And it got me thinking about, people do, they pretty much know where you find one, you find the other. It is very much a common thing. We are very much seen as a pair, which is exactly how it should be. And so I just thought this time round, we're going to do this perk. Now, that obviously, like Billy Tucci, Graham Nolan, they've done these perks. Andy Smith has got one. What they're great for as well, to be honest with you, like we are going through a recession, and I've had people message me all the time saying, I really want to back your book, but I really can't afford it. And, there's been the whole thing with a lot of books that never made it to the light of day, and the people didn't get their money back and all these things. And everyone obviously knows that's not going to happen with me. But at the same time, there's people that are a little bit burnt by all of this. So they're not really massively wanting to sink their money in, or genuinely they don't have the cash. So they will message me going, I really want to support you, but I don't have the money. And loads of people have gone, but you know what? I'm going to buy YANN a beer because he does so many amazing things, and I know that he's there and supports you, and I know this book will get out. And that was another reason why it was such a little sweet tear, because people could just support him. And if they didn't like I say, we're in a recession, if they really didn't have the money to buy the book, and I understand because postage is ridiculous, it's insane. Yeah, it is fun for the first 500. That is very true. So yeah, you start off by saying it's therapeutic. So yeah, it was just a case of we thought we'd put a little silly tear on here like this. So if people want to still support you, but they can't afford to buy the book, or they want to show support to YANN, there's something for everybody. And he will, because this is what we promised he will do. He's going to buy the craft beer selection, and he's going to do beer review streams with what people have bought him. Like, that's the plan. And it says that there's 5 or 6 on there, but actually there's about 15 when you go through the add-ons, and people have added it onto the book. So if they have bought the book, so I
just backed again and was like, I don't think that either this wasn't up or I don't remember it. and if I already bought YANN a beer, I'm buying him another beer.
Oh well,
so I don't care. Because YANN, you guys are a phenomenal pair, and YANN is such a sweetheart. And we've been talking about trying to get him to do a commission for the channel and stuff. That everybody come out to the art auction, buy all of my shit, so I can commission these amazing artists, please. Like, literally, I want to commission to get more stuff in your guys' hands, and money's tight because we're in a recession. So come buy my art, and then I can give it to YANN, and then that goes to YANN in Charlie's London, and then it gets bigger. It's a wonderful thing.
I don't know. This is sounding awful communist.
Yep.
No, there's money involved, so it's not
exactly.
Yeah, we are totally fine. It's a capitalist venture. No, but seriously,
this is awesome.
It was just something that's wrong, and he will, because people have watched it before. In fact, he did. It's still one of my favourite ones. He did a beer review show, and he has Stdio on. Stdio doesn't drink. He just likes listening to YANN's ranting and rave about these beers. So he actually bought one that tasted like ham hot, like roast. And he's like, "What is this beer?" And I was like, "You're the one drinking it. I have no idea." And he just gets these really, like, some of the ones he's bought. There's a particular shop near us that does all these. There'll be like chocolate orange flavoured beer, or Marmite flavoured beer, which is obviously like Vegemite.
That's horrible. Don't do that.
Why are you doing this to yourself? And he's
the beer I just bought you. You need to get a pickle flavored stout. That's what that one goes to. I don't know if you're gonna find it, but there you go.
Something. There's a brand over here called Brewdog, and they do some pretty out there ones, to be honest. So we'll probably be able to find him something. But there was a stream that he did where Peyton, Peyton. He was in the chat, and he was streaming in the bedroom. And I've got an original Charlie Chaplin cane that was given to me by the estate for my 30th birthday. It wasn't one that was ever used. It was on the set. And he used to have, because he used to bend on them and they were bamboo, they'd snap really regularly. So he always had spares, and this was just a spare. But they gave it to me. They said, the only proviso is if they ever have an exhibition and they can't get hold of another one, and I'm only in London, then they've got to have it back to put, but which is fine. But he was drunk, and he was on this stream going, "There's a Charlie Chaplin cane back there." And he was like, because he lives with it every day. He's lived with this obsession for 6 years. To him,
it's so funny.
It's just there, isn't it? And Peyton was like, "Oh my God, you've got an original thing like that there," and you're just like, "Meh." And he was like, "Yeah, because I see this every day. This is what she does when she's not at work."
She just stares at the cane.
She spins it around.
It's in a on the wall. It never moves from being on the wall. I'm too scared to touch it. It stays there. So I've got that, and I've got an original Chaplin autograph as well. That's been verified. Yeah, it was quite specific. I'm so grateful his biographer helped me find it. I know his biographer really well. Basically, I wanted a one that wasn't him dressed as the tramp, and I wanted him So it's not dressed as the tramp. And he actually, when he started at Keystone, he was signing everything Chaplin. Chaz is a very English shortened.
Yes, it is.
So
Chaz, Fraz, Daz, Gaz. Yep. Y'all love just first letter as afterwards.
Yeah. So we very much was like, I really fell in love with this one that I saw, and I was like, this is one I want because there's still a hint of home, there's still a hint of London. It was him as himself before the tramp had ever been invented, and it was actually on the back. It says Keystone Studios 1914, and because my other love is doing stuff with the First World War, that was the year the First World War broke out. So it was just so perfect. And he actually managed to verify it, looking at other signatures in the Chaplin archives. Then the Chaplin stamped it saying it was official. And it was just so it's in a like a UV, was literally right above my head. It's in a, hang on, let's see if I can get it. It's in a UV frame. Sorry. Right.
Oh my gosh.
So, that is.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
So this is what, 108 years old now?
Holy cow.
But he's so handsome.
These are very rare. Like this image is very, very rare. Like this, you don't normally see it with the tramp.
Jeez.
So that's my probably one of my prized possessions. That will remain my prized possession till our firstborn. I think is probably the best way to say it.
That's fair. That's fair. That is gorgeous. That is so cool. Ah, all right. Man, you have so many amazing stories. So now we have the Graham Nolan color variant.
Mm-hmm.
And this was done by Gabe, coloring it. Fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, and he actually said to me, "Thank you so much for allowing me to color this." And I was like, "You're thanking me?" Like
I know, right?
I was so he's so sweet. He's very polite. He's very nice.
He really is. I reached out to him like super last minute when we had somebody cancel, and I was like, "Is there any chance that you might want to come on Writing Pros?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm out with family. Next time, rain check." And I was like, "For real? Like, you don't even know who I am?" And he's like, "No, I know you. You're good." And I was like, "Okay, that you're really, really nice, and that's really bizarre." And I was like, "Enjoy your time out." And I don't know what to do now. Like, you just seem like a sweet person.
Well, see, it's like CG UK. Every single member of CG UK has been on Wise Guys' show to promote their book. So there is a running thing in CG UK. You haven't made it until you've been on the Kingmaker show. That is Wise Guys. And we do actually, this is a constant thing. I've got clips of him when he did his Tone Deaf Asian show. Did you ever watch that? Where he sung songs from the... So basically got requests from the chat. He got requests from the chat of songs that he was just going to sing down the microphone. And he called the stream. He did it once a week for about a month. And he called it the Tone Deaf Asian Show. And he just sung, right? So he sung a Michael Jackson song. I love Michael Jackson. He sung They Don't Care About Us. And I clicked it. I was like, I am having that. And now sometimes, depending on what mood I'm in, I will literally play that out at the end of my show. And then like, because it's a running joke.
That's fantastic.
You're never anyone till you've made it on Wise Guys. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is.
I feel you. You know, I'm happy that we could get you on because we've had Chubbs, we've had Wooly, we've had Commie Mark. Mm-hmm. And I keep trying to get, it's the damn time difference that's killing me, but I'm so happy that we were able to make this work for you because, oh my gosh, this has been such an amazing stream. But yeah, tell your CG UK people to hit me up. We do 4 p.m. shows. It's not super late over there yet.
No, it is 11:15. The problem I have is that it's work. And the thing is, people always think, oh, you teachers get really long holidays. Do we? We're still working. We're still working. I mean, I was talking to you about this earlier. I'm exam marking this year.
Yeah.
So that means, exam marking, they literally contact you and go, we're sending you 2,000 papers over the space of 6 weeks. Yes, we're going to pay you for them, but we need them done by the 6th of August. Thank you very much. And you're like, what? And of course, that's, and when I say they send them to you, they don't physically send them anymore. You have to log on this portal and you have to mark them online. And then you only have so many hours to do that allotment for the day. It's really, really weird. And it's like, wow, 2,000 papers. I struggle sometimes marking 40, which is my class. This is going to be a nightmare. But But yeah, exactly. Thank you, Wooly. Wooly and I vent at each other all the time. Like the bitching level is real between Wooly and I when we moan about stuff. Us CG, we do keep multiplying. We have
It's great though.
60 people. Like we really are. We're mad. And what's funny, Dave, tell them if I'm wrong with this one. I might not talk for hours in there. This is why when you guys were saying about swearing and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I will literally be quiet for days because I'm busy. I get caught up with other things. Something will catch my eye in the news or something that I've seen on Twitter or normally something about woke crap or SJWs. And I will go in that DM room and I'll go, motherfuckers, what is all that about? And they'll go, oh, and then I'll rant and rave, and then I'll disappear for another 2 days. So they're very used to me. That's why I find it really funny when everyone's like, don't swear around you. I'm like, have you ever met me? Like, I'm not. I'm quite,
Right. Oh my gosh, no, you guys are. Like I said, I've heard you talk in a couple of different areas, and after when you're an American that lives in the UK, you get disillusioned with all of the the British accent, and you're like, no, it's just an accent, and then you start to understand the differences between the culture and the people better, and then you get to go, these are my people. And so far, everyone I've seen in CG UK, y'all my peeps. You are the people that I would absolutely hang out with, go to the pub, get a beer. Gordon, don't even start pretending like you are your poor little ears. We all know. Look.
Listen. Yeah, Dave will tell you that's my favourite word in there. I might write that about 5 times about something. I'll literally just write that one word and then go, that is all. And then Yann tells me off. He's like, don't swear like that. And I'm like, but it's the only way. Because I can't. Normally when something like that happens, I'm in a classroom full of children. I can't suddenly start ranting at them like that. I'll lose my job. So it's easier to rant at Dave. So it's easier to rant at Dave.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I've had friends that answered the phone like this in England where they were like, sup? And I was like, the hell is wrong with you? And they go, oh, that's right, you're American. It's not as bad over here. And I'm like,
okay.
Yeah,
so
I was like,
here's a great example. Here's a great example. Nobody in there ever says hello in a nice way to each other in the morning. It will be something like, hello, good morning, scrotum features, and that's everyone. Good morning. The classic one is wankers or stuff like that. So that is what we do. We literally think of the weirdest ways to. In fact, the other day, what did I say? Good morning, abattoir animal afterbirths, right? And then one of them went, Charlie, that was a bit much. And I was like, you lot, that's a bit much. And I'm like, no.
Oh my god.
I've gone too far for CG UK, who have got the worst.
That's impressive.
It's pretty I'm going to hold on to that one. Someone's got to beat me, probably Commie Mark, because he's pretty slut-like in there, to be fair.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is funny. That is hilarious. Can't say any of it on Twitter or on YouTube, but yes, that was really funny. All right, so then we have our Modern Times cover, which is the one that we talked about in depth, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I just saw what some person said. I sent Charlie a good amount of pictures that she can use for whatever the hell she wants. So
yes, that is very true.
We'll see what she does with them.
All clothed. I just need to put it out there for the. Yeah.
I mean, you don't.
Oh yeah, There's no.
We can let them all think it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's
boudoir Chaplin pictures.
That would. I don't even think the real Chaplin ever did boudoir pictures, so I think it's territory.
Very bizarre.
Your buddy doing the cosplay, he was dressed up as Chaplin in a bathtub. The next one was him unclothed.
Saying that though, my favourite picture of him is not him dressed as a cab. It was a professional picture that he had done in 1912, I think it was. He's playing a cello, but you can't see his face. You just his head's down, and it's just that big, beautiful like lock of hair, and he's really, and he's in this suit, like a proper tweed suit, and it's just a stunning. And when I said to the Chaplins that I love this picture and I really want to get it in our flat, put onto a canvas, but none of the images on like Google are actually like high enough res. I mean, I still haven't had it done. They sent me like this super, super high definition version that they normally make people pay for because it's on their archive. And the lady that runs the estate went, "There you go, you can have it. Happy Christmas." And I was like, "Thanks for that. Yeah, I'll remember that."
Oh!
Yeah.
This will be my entire north wall where it gets the best light.
Some
Never
person
seen
says
that.
this one will be a sexy chapel with a corset.
No,
No.
I've never
let's not.
ever seen that. I've never.
That
seen
doesn't need to be a thing.
No.
All right, so now we have the Peter Gilmore circus variant,
Mm-hmm.
and
One of the things with that one is it was to match the silent variant cover that came with the first campaign, which is also going to be the reprint. It is the same cover but in colour. So for anybody, that's what the double pack is. The Peter Gilmore double pack is that, because it's actually, it is there, I think, isn't it? Yeah. So people can buy book 1 and 2 together, and we did it with Peter's one because he's got a cover on both the first campaign and the second one, so it merged really nicely together.
that's awesome. Very cool. And then this is the thing that we were talking about, was the new thing for the campaign. So you're doing like a minifigure. How big is this?
I think we said it's about 10 centimeters. So I'm just trying to think. I've got a ruler here. Hang on, 10 centimeters. They're being made by Stdio 7 Collectibles, which is Jim from CG UK. So yeah, I think so. They're about that big. Gonna be about that big. That's how many? 4 inches. There you go.
Awesome.
So my glamorous assistant in the corner. So they're about 4 inches. That one's unpainted because we wanted to offer that to people who actually want to paint it themselves. They are based on Statistical Zero's Tramp Tales that was in the back of the original book, and people really love the characters. They really love the idea of actually Charlie having this dog and these 2 little kids.
Oh my god.
What?
Oh yeah, I was waiting to see if it was going to pop up.
More like the same size of yours, because you keep distributing it to too many people, so it's getting smaller.
Oh, that's rubbing off.
All right, Peter Gilmore double pack.
This is the sort of way we talk to each other all the time. So the idea is you'd be able to paint it yourself. In the Big Top Circus box, it's actually painted silver. So you actually get one in there, but it's a limited edition that only comes inside that box. And that box has got a stupid amount of stuff in it.
It does. I'm so sad that that's the only place I can get a patch, because I don't have $260 and I'm like, no, I love patches.
And then
You
you'd
don't
have to order
understand.
2 of them, one for each of us.
No, bitch. One of us would have a patch and the other one would cry. That's how that would work.
I will make a photocopy of the
I'll
patch.
give you the key ring.
Why? I don't carry keys.
I know, it'll be funnier. No, so this has so much. All right, real quick, because we skipped over. So that was the Peter Gilmore double pack.
Yes.
Where you're getting book 1, the Virgin
Circus
Prince,
cover.
as well as
Yeah.
very
So
good.
it's basically, when I took the Graham Nolan double pack down, people kept saying to me, you should have a tier on here that's the book 1 and book 2 together. And I thought, well, the only logical one to do is Peter's, because he's got a cover for both of them, and that's what that is. And to offer the same thing, you get the Virgin Prince of the cover, the same as the limited run tier. That will also have, for anyone that backed that will also have the Virgin Prince for both of Graham Nolan's covers, the one that's coloured by Gabe and the black and white one.
Very cool. Yeah, so the Big Top Circus box, like you're throwing everything in here. So you've got stats sketch cards, which are just phenomenal. They're so, like, one day you're gonna have to take the sketch card scans and just make like a little mini coffee table book for like the omnibus of Charlie's London or something. To have like a little mini one that can just sit there because they're so cute.
Yeah, and this is the level of the quality on these, right? So Stato's original ones, he sent me a box of about 200 of them. Because he just kept drawing them. Like he literally said, use the best ones. Well, they're all amazing. So because I've had so many of them still left over, and they are super, super good quality, I said, I'm gonna just, if you don't mind, I'm gonna actually put these on this campaign, like the ones so people can get another chance to get it. And then he went, no, don't do that. I'll send you new ones. He said, because I've learned so many new techniques and things since since you did the first one. I really want to showcase that off. So I said, are you sure? That's more work for you. He went, no, I want to do it. And he did. Like the cards that he's been producing on this one, and he's been putting them on Twitter every day. I kid you not, I really thought that the other ones were like amazing. He's knocked it out the park with these ones. I mean, I keep saying to him, no, this one's for me. He's like, you can't keep keeping the ones. I was like, well, stop keeping them so good then. I've got one on my notice board. I can't get this down, but he made me one of, it's meant to be like a piss take of the Ask Me About My Feminist Agenda t-shirt, like that famous cover. Well, it's Chaplin. You don't see anything past like this part of his face downwards. And he's holding a ball and it says, Ask Me About My Silent Film Agenda. And he made one of them. And that's mine. It's on my notice board. Like, no one is getting that from me. So,
that is phenomenal. So you're doing that. You're doing the limited edition figurine, the books, obviously, a keyring, and a patch. Like I said, am so sad that I don't have this in my possession because I really want the patch so much. But this is a massive value because it's all of that. It's all the stretch goals. It's just huge and in a nice decorative box you can put on your shelf.
Yeah, I mean the box that's on here is actually the design that was on the first box. Because to give people an idea that this is sort of the caliber of what we're going to be working with, but the image is going to change on the front. So the image on the front is going to be their Keystone Cops, which matches with the first one. The second one's going to be Cogs from Modern Times. So it's going to be exactly the same look, the matted box with the shiny vinyl. And people were really shocked when they got it and they opened it, like how incredible it looks. I mean, because I was contemplating going with the whole idea of doing, the magnetic boxes with the images and that all around. But I just thought, you know what? This is so simplistic but stylish, which is exactly what I really wanted my book to be. So I went with that because also I wanted you to get the wow factor of when you took the box up. You opened the box, you saw these incredible covers. I didn't want the external to detract from what was going on inside, which I think definitely,
Well, and so I don't know if you did this intentionally, but it's really kind of funny. If you think of silent films, like how they were stored and shipped and things like that, they were shipped in boxes very similar to this. Where
yes, they were.
It's a big reel in a little square box, and like you have the lift-off lid, and then you have this reel coming out. So it's just so perfect that this is the look that you went for, and it is very classy. It is really, really classy.
I really appreciate that. I really wanted to try. I actually had a friend that could have got me loads of them empty reel boxes, not even from original silent films, just some that were around. Mm-hmm. But when we actually looked at how much with the weight, because they're metal, I was going to design it so everyone got their own unique one. They were obviously going to be original sort of boxes, so they were going to be slightly dented and whatever. Maybe there was still a film title written on the front, and then they were going to open it and there was going to be all the stuff. They are really heavy, and then added to the weight of the books and everything, it would have cost so much to actually ship them. That was yeah. So that's why we went with one of those boxes. But yeah, that was the plan originally, to make it look like something like that. It's really cool. I love the attention to detail that you have. I love all of the passion and the care that has gone into doing this. And this is coming from somebody who was never a Chaplin fan. I wasn't against him. I just Didn't
is
really
Chaplin.
know.
Like, I don't know anything about him. Like, what do I care? It was silent films forever ago, you know. And you've actually made me incredibly interested in learning more about him, because every time I learn something, I'm always like, oh, just it seems like such a sweet soul.
Yeah.
And it's really fantastic to see you on and talking about taking something and writing historical, like, it's a historical fiction, but you're doing it in a way where you're including so much of the reality, and it's like, how, you know, balancing that. That's actually one of the reasons why I really wanted to get you on Writing Pros, is because I would love to sit down and talk with you, with our panel, about how do you keep it from being like a biography, you know, how do you keep it so it's still entertaining? I can't.
You know, all I can say about that, I mean, obviously, sure, yeah, if I'm available, but, you know, it's like the time difference and stuff.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say about that is I don't think my script, I mean, I'd love to be able to compare with another person that, like, writes a script in CG, but my scripts don't look like anybody else's from what I can see. And the reason I say that is because I think, because I'm dealing with a real historical character, a lot of the time I will, like, I'll write stuff about what's going on in the scene, then I'll write the dialogue, and then I'll attach pictures, maybe even YouTube, like, links, to get Mickey to actually sort of get inside the mind of what's going on. And and I don't think that the process of that would be the same for someone who's invented a character and they're trying to get across what they look like and so on. But the thing for me was I loved what they did with the Robert Downey Jr. film. Like David Robinson, who's Chaplin's biographer, he worked on the Robert Downey Jr. film. He was the script. He actually put the script together based on the real historical information. And he is the first person to say they cut off 50% of his script because they really wanted to go with, like, his sex life more than the actual. Like, Attenborough wanted to go with the scandalous stuff mixed in with his art rather than actually concentrate on his artwork. And so I always said I love that film. Robert Downey Jr. was incredible. He was the perfect Chaplin, but I want to do a historical, accurate version of that. I want to basically be like, this is the film that David wanted to make that he probably couldn't, you know, he didn't have enough power and sway to push Attenborough to make the right moves. So it is very similar, the idea about going back and thinking about his past and how these things trigger that. That works in exactly the same way. The difference is I'm not focusing on what the same things Attenborough is focusing on.
Well, I'm really excited to get this book. I'm really excited to sit down with a cuppa and enjoy just reading all of them. Shut up, Sai. I fucking hate you. Sai gets mad at me because I have a lot of holdovers from when I was in Britain. Like, brekkie is the most efficient way to say breakfast. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
It just is. Breakfast is so long. Brekkie makes...
Anyway, it was nice that Shae could be here for a little while.
Okay, that was really... I was like, okay.
She's gone now.
She's off.
Sai does this all the time. It's just Sai being a bit... In fact, you know what? This is better.
Just me. Just me now. It's just me. There
Yes.
we go. Woolly's put a very nice comment in the chat, so thank you, Woolly. I really appreciate that. Woolly obviously did a one shot on my first campaign, so he's worked with my scripts and knows what. And his one shot was incredible. We were talking about bits I had to leave out the first book because it was going to make the book too large. Was his friendship with Stan Laurel of Laurel and Hardy, and Woolly was like, we've got to do a one shot of this. This story's got to be told. So we did it. And yeah, he was so good what he did with that, and we had a lot of fun putting that together. But he did say that he never wants to draw Charlie Chaplin again in his life, purely because he said it was really hard to draw him without the moustache. He said I couldn't, like, it was so hard to get the right. And I said to him, really? Because let me tell you something, your images are incredible. Like Woolly's pages for that was like amazing, but he never ever he said it's because he kept looking at this picture saying there's something not right about it, and it's because in his head he was seeing it with the moustache on. So So now I'm sure, though, to be honest with you, I'm sure if I was to say to him down the line, please do me a pin-up like he would, because Wooly and I get on.
Wooly's amazing. He absolutely would.
He's a massive sweetheart. So, yeah.
Wooly's especially amazing when you get him on a 3-hour stream and he already has the scotch in hand and in his belly, and he just keeps going.
It's so good.
Yeah,
Wooly, we love you. I can't wait for Teddy Vogelman.
Don't get him on a rant about British politics. You won't get him off of a stream. Like, he's proper like that. He is genuinely. I mean, we've been trying desperately for a very long time now, and you know, you say about the timing between America and, you know, we sometimes can't even coordinate things, and we're in the same time zone because we're all so busy. So, for example, Wooly, Stdio, and I really, really want to do a stream about historical films that we love. And then, because he does the Wooly and Stdio go to the movies, but we wanted to do one where the three of us talked about the history behind the films, even if it's like where they're historically inaccurate or maybe like things about the costumes and stuff like that. And we've had a DM room with the three of us for over a year trying to sort it out, and we haven't still been able to sort it out. So trust me, it happens to us all.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, this has been amazing. Can you believe it's already been an hour and a half? We normally do these like at an hour and a half. That's like our hard cutoff, and I feel like we could just keep rolling, but I'm not gonna because it's late for you, and my mustache is trying to fall off because I laughed too many times. So I just want to say, is there any other last little bits that you want to talk about the campaign before we wrap?
No, just thank you to everybody that's backed. Thank you to everyone that's considering backing. And if you can't back, just give us a retweet, get some other people to see the campaign. That's more than I can ask from you. And thank you to you guys for having me on. And thanks to everybody in the chat for listening to me talk about it, because I am aware it's definitely not a book that's everybody's cup of tea. But at the same time, I think I've converted a lot of people to see just how amazing this person was.
I think your passion behind it and your knowledge just really makes it a lot more accessible, and it breathes life into something that we otherwise didn't really focus on, didn't really notice, you know. And so you're coming in and saying like, well, you know, there was this, and this, and you're like, really? Do you talk about it in the book? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I need to go get the book. I need to go read it right now. Like, it makes you excited about it.
This is one reason why I've got the campaign open till July 2023, and I've told Mickey, you know, we've had it longer on purpose because I've said to him, it's up at 64 pages, but dude, if you want to take this to 128, you crack on, because the last book was meant to be 64 pages. It was 96 pages. Because we were not prepared to cut any of the story out because it had to be told. And this book covers 1921 to 1941. It's all of his most iconic films. So I've told not Willie, but I have told Willie, but I've told Mickey, if you telling me I can't make this book any shorter than 100 pages, go for it. So that's why I'm giving him the time. And
that's awesome.
So I think if you're quite transparent with your backers and say, this is how long it's going to take, but it's much better than me telling you it's going to be out in 6 months and it's not. Okay, which is what I did on the first one. I said, I can get this done in 6 months. That was a learning curve. So I've just decided to give myself extra. If I ship early, wow, that's a great thing for CG because I've shipped early.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Aisha, for coming and hanging out with us. You are an absolute fucking joy. I love being able to talk to you. We're going to figure out timing and getting more streams with you somehow. Hell or high water. We're going to make it happen. If I have to start marking, assessments with you to get you to come on, we'll do it. We'll make it work. Okay.
Start streaming at like 11 a.m.
Right? It'll be fine. It'll be totally
fine. What would that be?
4.
Yeah, 4 your time.
Wow, yeah. Oh, wow. That would be, wouldn't it? Yeah, I see what you mean.
We'll make it work.
And then when you guys change your clocks like we do, but you do it the week before, I get super confused because you're actually 6 hours and not 5 hours, and I'm like,
nice.
Yeah, that gets ridiculous. That was very hard. we're gonna figure it out. Absolutely. This is not gonna be the last time that we stream because you're just such a joy to have. Sai, thank you so much for all of your work. Chat, you are absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We love you all. Share out this campaign, back this book, back it at super high tiers, and don't forget to buy YANN a beer because he definitely has earned it. And we will send y'all out with Charlie's wonderful trailer, and see you guys next time. Catch you later. Bye.
But the man who gives the London bombers a battle with the crowds is, yes, Charlie Chaplin.